right, everyone, you know what time it is. It's time for New York Giants Straight Talk, powered by Online Big Blue LLC. Oh, we're going to be going into this game on Sunday against the vaunted Tampa Bay Buccaneers, trying to get a win, trying to see if Tommy DeVito can be the bridge quarterback. Bridge over the river, Tommy. Why? Because Daniel Jones isn't going to be back. Drew Lock isn't going to be back, but the New York Giants need to find an answer. They need to find a solution, and finding a solution is not that easy. You know what also is not easy? Finding a way to save money. Finding a way to cut your expenses without cutting your lifestyle. You don't want to cut your streaming services because you need to pay for your cell phone services. But there is a way, and you know what that way is? It's Mint Mobile. I'm intrigued by it. This video, of course, is in partnership with them. They offer a premium unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Get high-speed data and internet, high-speed data and unlimited talk and text on one of the nation's largest 5G networks. Bring your own phone over because it's easy, because it's simple, because it's fast, it's reliable. And you know what? You always hear from the big wireless services, you can't switch services, it's too difficult. You have to stay with us. Well, let me tell you something. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks, of course, we've talked about it before, the digital eSIM cards, which most phones have now. You sign up, you activate immediately right from your phone, right from your couch. And if your phone doesn't have an eSIM card, you know what you get? You know what Mint does? I'm going to tell you what they do. They send you a SIM card for free. That's how easy it is. So if you want to save a little money without sacrificing, go to mintmobile.com/bigblue. The link is also in the description. Get premium wireless service for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. I'm going to say it again, $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. And right now, for all new customers, Mint is offering buy 2 months, get 1 month free on their best-selling 3-month 5G plan. Only available for a limited time, so make sure you use the offer code free months at checkout to get the discount. Again, that's mintmobile.com/bigblue. mintmobile.com/bigblue. See it in the description. Free months at checkout with the discount. Go now. Do it now. Get on the best service that I've ever used. Like I said, I got 3 Mint phones. How many do you have? How many quarterbacks do the Giants have? That's the question. None. We got Tommy DeVito. Drew Lock is a one-year guy. We have the likes of Daniel Jones, who, of course, will be gone. So in 2025, the Giants are in this vicarious situation where we need to find a quarterback. We need to find someone. Currently, before this game, we are sitting 5th in the draft. There are other quarterback-needy teams ahead of us. And this is not the deepest draft class we have seen in the last decade. This is not. Last year was the year to get the quarterback. Last year was the year to go out and get like maybe a Penix and a Ladd McConkey. Last year was the year to maybe get a J.J. McCarthy and a Keenan Coleman. Last year could have been that year for the New York Giants. We just decided that we'll take Malik Nabers at 6 and go against all conventional NFL wisdom because you always draft a wide receiver to fix your quarterback. I mean, seriously. But if you look at this draft, if you look at the situation that the Giants are in, they need a top flight, ready quarterback. And I'm not sure there's one here. I wish I could say there was a C.J. Stroud. I wish I could say there was a Jaden Daniels. I'm not 100% sure because your top guys have talent. I'm getting my quarterback rankings right up here. Your top guys have talent. They do. But there's also some issues with each one of the guys. And you also have to be aware that maybe you can get to that guy, maybe you can't. Right now, everyone looks at Mr. Sanders. You look at Colorado. You look at the numbers he's putting up with Travis Hunter. You looked at the fact that I've said it before. He's the son of the coach from his last 2 stops. He's not a bad kid. He is a kid that's a little. I'm not going to say arrogance, but he's got this personality about him that kind of rubs me the wrong way. He's not Josh Rosen. I just think he is not going to handle the adversity of New York as well as some other players will. But is the talent undeniable? Yes. Will you have to look some of the things that he may bring off the field because also his father? Is he a day one starter in the NFL? I think he might be a day one guy. And I think he can develop into a franchise quarterback. I think he's got speed. He's accurate. We've seen him poise under pressure. We've seen him what happens when the pocket collapses. We see what happens when the rush comes at him. He knows what to do. My only concern is one of his best plays is, especially under pressure, is chucking it up to Travis Hunter and see what happens. Kind of the Eli OBJ scenario. Let's just throw it up in a 50-50 ball. Let's see what happens. And you're going to have a span of time where that works. Daniel Jones did it in 2019. You'll have a span of time and you'll have a segment of games where that works. But the problem is this. It doesn't work all the time. I think, like I said, I think it's not like the Ball family. You're not going to see the big baller sneakers, but you are going to have to deal with the likes of Deion. There is already talk and speculation that Deion Sanders may want to leave Colorado for a head coaching job at the NFL. And that kind of tells me maybe he's positioned himself to still be with his son when he goes into the NFL. That is a nuance to this organization we do not need. But like I said, if you look at the way he plays, if you look at his ability, if you look at solely what he does on the field, you got to like what you see in Sanders. He's shown this progression. He's shown that he can play against top-flight talent. He's shown that he has this ability. But the question is going to be, does some of the off-field baggage and reference to the Sanders name and some of his own personality, is that going to cause an issue for this team? I don't know. And also the question is going to be, can we get high enough up to get him? Now, I was going into the season, I was not a Cam Ward fan. Said this before, when I saw him at Washington State, I wasn't overly impressed, but I've seen this dramatic draft-altering performance that he has had week in and week out, except for last week where he actually had that, he held on the ball way too long in the pocket. But, I give him credit because he was still looking downfield when he had that fumble. But he is just this guy that to me, I think he's the wild card in the draft. He's college 6'2". We'll see exactly what he is, about 220 pounds. Excuse me, I'll take a little water here. He's another one of these guys that has all the abilities to make the throws. He has this pocket presence and this awareness about him. And I don't know exactly what kind of quarterback he's going to land out and be. He kind of reminds me of a little bit of a Charlie Ward. And of course, Charlie Ward played at Florida State, never got the opportunity to play in the NFL because he went to go play for the Knicks. But he just has this. He just has this ability in him. I think he's got a great arm. I think he has the ability to make all the NFL throws. Like Sanders, he's a dual threat. I think he's got a quick release. He's another guy that if you pressure him, he's got the poise and the leadership to continuously look downfield and make the throws. I think for a guy that's, I'm kind of curious about his height. I do think that he does have some issues mechanically, which takes a little velocity off the ball, but I think he's got more than enough arm strength. But one thing that, and I go back to that play a couple weeks back when he fumbled, where the ball got knocked out of his hand as he was looking downfield. He fumbles a lot. I think he's fumbled 30 plus times since 2021. We don't need that. We don't need that kind of man in our life, Rock, because we've seen that happen early on with Daniel Jones. But like I said, I do think he's got really good arm strength, but he's going to have to just continuously focus on what he needs to do mechanically. But again, I think he could be a projected starter right away. But again, are we going to be in a position to even trade up for him or get him? But then, we kind of reach this thing that after these two guys, in my mind, it's a crapshoot. You got Jalen Milroe, who I think more is a runner than he is a quarterback. And I think he's got he's kind of this year's Joe Milton. You got Quinn over in Texas, but I think his draft stock has dropped exponentially. If it was me, I would have sat there and I would have held on to. I would have kept Archin more than I would have. Went with Quinn. Dart out of Ole Miss is an interesting name, and I think he's got the ability, and I think he's a guy that might be a little bit lower on the Giants draft board, but I do think he's a guy that's something to take a look at. He started his career at USC back in 2021. Started, I think, 3 games. Then in 2023, which is last year, he led Ole Miss to their first ever 11-win season. I know he threw for over 3,000, and I think like 23 touchdowns, only like 5 interceptions. And he has the ability to run. And 2024, he has shown more and more and more, and he has shown improvement. Again, I think he's a guy with a decent arm, but with that decent arm, there comes mechanical issues that if he has this breakdown with his mechanics, his arm strength is not going to be as fluid as he needs to be. And, if Brian Dable is still there, this kid is the master of the RPO and play action. He really is. I mean, he's very sound technically doing that. But like I said, and he's another one of these guys that stands, he's like John Wayne, he stands tall in the pocket. But he also has problems with ball security. Some of his decision-making under duress is, I'm going to say, questionable at best. If you watched him play against better talent, there is a noticeable dip in his production. We got to be honest. But like I said, he is a guy that could be, I'm not, if you're going to reach in the first round, Dart might be a guy you reach for. I wanted to talk about Riley Leonard, but of course he went to Duke, so I'm never going to talk about Riley Leonard. I'm never going to talk about that kid. The guy that I really enjoyed, I really wanted to see, and the guy I really thought was going to be a difference maker this year was going to be Carson Beck. But Carson Beck, to me, there are some things that I'm seeing about Carson Beck that I just don't like, even in the losses. He's not going to be a guy that's going to be a dual threat. He's going to be a consistent pocket passer. He's not going to give you those extra yards with his legs. His deep ball, I'd say his deep ball kind of reminds me of Daniel Jones a little bit. And he's one of those guys that, I've said this about Daniel Jones, and I love it because people used to bash me about it. I say, what's the easiest way to beat Daniel Jones, to rush Daniel Jones is come directly in his face. Bring it from the interior rush. Because Daniel Jones panics when he actually because he doesn't see the rush around the edge, so that's really good. But he panics, especially early on when he got the rush in front of him, when you brought that interior rush, and you kind of see that now this year with Carson Beck, which is a little bit disconcerting. And again, he is another guy that has to be sound mechanically because why he has, I would say, good NFL arm talent. It's not great. And if he loses what he has within him mechanically in his throwing motion, that talent level's going to go down. But one of the things you do have to look at, what he's done at Georgia, he does have great ball placement, which will shock Giant fans because he has the ability and the understanding of knowing where to put the ball, to put his wide receivers in the best position to make the catch. He hasn't really done it that much this year. But he is a guy right now, if you look at it, you're kind of like, all right, we'll just kind of have to see where we're going to go from there. But like I'm saying, right now, if I'm looking at this draft class, the Giants are going to have to swing for either Sanders or Ward. Because going out and get the kid from Texas, going out and getting Jalen Milroe, going out and getting a Carson Beck, going out and maybe even looking at Dart. I think Dart's going to be I think Dart is going to be a J.J. McCarthy type guy. I think he is going to be looked at as this all-world talent, this dual threat guy who can push the ball down the next level, who's going to have, like I said, he's got better than that. He's got good arm strength. I would give him plus arm talent. But the problem is this, like I said, mechanically, if he breaks down, he's going to rely on his wheels to get the job done, which kind of sounds like, wait for it, Daniel Jones. And do we really, and like I said, Rock, we don't need that type of man in our life. Or I should say Apollo, we don't need that type of man in our life. Because we don't need, so you look at, do you really want to sit there with a year of Tommy DeVito in 2025, especially as a season ticket holder, because we've wasted so much money already? Do you really want to sit there? That's why we need to go to Mint Mobile. Do we need to want to sit there and look at those likes? I think there is two NFL-ready guys. I think the most NFL-ready is going to be Sanders, but I think the safer pick for the Giants would be someone like Ward. And I just want them to stay away from these truly project picks because, like I said, I think Dart's a project. I think Beck is going to be a project. I think Milroe is going to be a project. I think the kid out of Texas is going to be a project. You got to stay away from that. You got to try to get close as you can to a sure thing in this draft. And if it means expending assets to finally get yourself an NFL quarterback, that's what the Giants need to do. Plain and simple. End of the story. End of discussion. Oh, I still don't know if we're going to go to the game on Sunday. We're going to have to wait and see. But as always, like, subscribe, follow the channel, help us out. And you know what, guys? I'm out of here.